Ooh. When I first saw the trailer a few months ago for Conjuring Last Rites, I thought to myself, I've only ever seen the first film. Maybe I should try getting up to date. So I did a quick little Google on the interwebs and realised there are 9 movies. Considering I completely hate myself, I thought I'd watch them back to back and rank them all from worst to best. Let's get started. Number 9, Annabelle. When I first started watching this franchise, I did a naughty little thing and started by looking at the Rotten Tomato or Letterboxd scores. And boy, some are not kind to these films. But I will say, spoiler alert, I enjoyed most of these films. Even the ones that aren't good usually have fun or cool moments and are enjoyably bad. This is exactly where Annabelle sits. Have a look at this nasty little freak. Best thing going for Annabelle is the fact it's a neat little 90-minute runtime. She gets in and she gets out. I hate the actors in this one. No shade, well, maybe a little, but this feels like a paycheck, and I hope you got the bag. The character of Mia is played super wooden, feeling like she's just reacting to stuff and she never really seems to be scared. And John, you have to be the whitest man to ever live. It's like you made a white bread and mayo sandwich, cut off the crusts, and ate it while listening to the Nutbush. That's how white this man is. And this is coming from a person who used to be a SoundCloud rapper and wore an Eminem hat in his first music video, so I'm kind of the authority on this. Everything about this film is the definition of fine. They're trying to make a functional film with no real love and care. And it's not really surprising realizing this went into production just months after the original Conjuring came out. The studio saw the massive success of the first and thought, fuck it, we're gonna rush this out, and everything about it seems this way. The acting is bad, the film ends super abruptly, and don't get me started on the scares and demon designs. We went from expertly set up tense set pieces to bland devils running at the camera. Like, think about the other films compared to this for a second. We had horrifying nuns, suicidal nurses with cut wrists, creepy possessions, to this thing. It's a downgrade in every single way, but I gotta be honest, I still enjoyed this one. A good brain off kind of vibey time. Number 8, Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. This one frustrated the hell out of me and almost got to bottom place. The first half, I thought we were really cooking. The first scene is creepy and scary, really throwing back to that classic Conjuring vibe, but where I started really vibing was this weird courtroom drama road trip film that was presenting itself. It was a real left turn, and as much as I love all the door slamming, haunted house vibes that this series gives, this seemed like a breath of fresh air. So why is it so low on the list? Number 1, they turned Lorraine from a clairvoyant who has glimpses of the beyond to a full-blown superhero. She does various party tricks and has visions that are just ridiculous and take me out of the entire thing. And that's really saying something when a haunted doll and demons possessing various characters is more believable than whatever the fuck this is meant to be. To me, they just destroy the character, trying to make her a girl boss instead of who she really is. I also think this film is just a confusing mess. It's way too long and has way too many ideas. Feels like it picks up a new idea and tone every 10 minutes and drops it as soon as it had it. First it's a haunted house, then a police procedural, a prison possession film, and then a romantic melodrama somewhere in between. I think this would have been so much stronger if it just stuck to a consistent tone. My vote being the demon police procedural. In trying to be so many things, it also strips away anything we loved about the franchise. Jump scares suck, the characters are annoying, and what am I meant to say about this? With Annabelle, you can blame the budget. This one has one of the highest budgets in the franchise, so this just seems lazy. Number 7, The Nun. This one has a place in my heart. I really love the gothic horror setting on this. There's something about a big old medieval castle that just gets me going. My god, what is that wide shot? Wide shot aside, I think they set the mood for this film perfectly. The production design is creepy, the colors are dark and muted, the castle stones seem crumbly, the world's ominous and foggy. It's just a cool vibe. It's weird it's technically set in the 50s as the vibe screams 1400s, but it's an outskirt nunnery, so I'll give it a pass, and they make their own reference to justify it, so all good. Keep that vibe. I also kind of love how silly and camp this film is. It sort of knows what it is and doesn't try to be too much. Also, shout out for this shot for possibly being my favorite in cinema history. I think about that freaky deaky little nun coming out of the water to the overdramatic music on a daily basis. It's just an unintentionally hilarious masterpiece. But I'm gassing this film up a lot for a film that's ranked so low on this list. For as much as I had fun, it's like they're just trying to get from one jump scare to another, and the moments in between are just stupidly bland. I also want to make a point here that if you're like me and you're watching these films for the first time with zero knowledge other than the freaky deaky nun, do not watch the trailers. I avoided every trailer after I watched this as it spoil every jump scare and cool moment there is in the film. All this build up and tension, you know exactly what's coming. I get you have to advertise your best moments, but this just ruined the experience. Also, as one last drive-by, the characters here suck and Frenchie feels like he's from a whole nother film entirely. So yeah, shit film I could 100% see becoming a guilty pleasure of mine. Number 6, The Nun II. I actually don't really want to talk about this one a lot, as it's got a lot of the previous film's good parts and also its shortcomings. Again, I love the set design, gothic churches, decaying schools, creepy hallways lit by candlelight, all dope. Hard to fuck up gothic horror horrendously, it's just a cool aesthetic. It actually helps a lot, giving Sister Irene a story arc, and the new sidekick really helps the pacing a lot. The Frenchie actor was super frustrating, annoying in the first, but I think he plays the possessed character really well. With these more fleshed out characters, it made me actually care what's going to happen to them and want the best for them. As much as I said I enjoyed the original Nun, as I was writing about it, I was trying to think about any iconic scares and moments, obviously outside of the hilarious Nun water shot, and I really couldn't. I could just be remembering this better as I watched it more recently, but the magazine sequence that reveals Valak is a really cool creative concept. It's up there with one of the best scares in the franchise. I also love the great opening sequence with the priest being lit on fire, and a pretty cool final showdown, even if it's a bit by the books. It just had a lot more moments to stick with you, and it seemed more love and care was taken compared to the first. With that said, I think the Nun franchise should probably finish up, as this is another whatever run-of-the-mill affair. But judging by the box office, I'm expecting the Nun 3, this time it's personal, be hitting our screens in the near future. Number 5, Annabelle Comes Home. Okay, so now we're starting to go from the bad films to the pretty good category with Annabelle Comes Home. Starting with The Warrens was a great choice. I think these films are always better when it has them in it, so I was hyped when the film started with the graveyard scene. Then, it takes a hard left turn to a teen drama. To say I was shitty about this turn originally would be an understatement. I was ready to turn this off and never watch another Conjuring film, but if The Warrens have taught me anything over the time we've been together, it's when the going gets tough and the demons are ruining your life, you just have to push through. And I'm glad I did, as it turns out these were actually really well developed, thought out characters. Made me want to root for them, which is kind of impressive this deep in the franchise. All the motivations made sense and they kind of smashed the acting roles. Katie Saroff playing Daniela gave a lot of emotional weight to her performance, and I liked how it slowly revealed her not just being a brat, but having real, frankly fair motivations for what she did. Also, McKenna Grace joins the list of child actors I don't want to punch. It's a highly exclusive and sought after list, as most children ruin films have such a prominent role. I feel her pain being an outcast, just wanting to fit into the world around her, while just not being able to. Maybe I shouldn't be putting this on YouTube and instead should seek therapy. Judy, I see and feel you. Finally, both Madison Eisman and Michael Cimino have fun roles. Madison doing some great protective and scream queen work, and Michael capturing the complete awkwardness as dating as a teenager. Yikes. I also want to say this one brings a great atmosphere with some actual scares. Shout out to the typewriter scene where Danielle's dad appears, scared the crap out of me. Also, the ferrymen are great villains, bringing a great character design along with the bride and haunted TV. Something cool about this film is, because it's at the Warrens' house, it gives license to have any and every villain and demon it wants. I like when the Conjuring demons make sense and should be in the environment. If you can't figure out why a demon is haunting you, it bothers me, but it really doesn't matter in this one. It can just be a monster mash with no further explanation. We don't end up exploring any of the demons' backstories or going any deeper because of the sheer amount of demons in this one, but I don't really mind, as I think this is an entry that's meant to be more of a fun thrill ride. The only demonic spirit I didn't like was the werewolf. I feel it's out of place with the other spirits. Werewolves just functioning better when they're real people transformed, so I just don't think it belongs in this universe. It takes a bit to get going and it ends way too abrupt for the build up. All in all, a solid entry into the franchise. Number 4, The Conjuring 2. Why was he possessed by Elvis? Having this so low on the list might be a hot take, but if you disagree, go and make your own list. This film really built the entire rest of the franchise. So much lore, characters, relationships, everything comes from this film. You look at every demon and it's either gotten or had its own spin-off. First, let's dive into each one. The freaky deaky nun. The use of Valak here is perfect. Before she was overexposed by the 2 spin-offs, she was genuinely scary. She isn't used a lot in this film, but the reveal is built up over time. When she's finally revealed and coming out of the painting, iconic, scary stuff. Something else I didn't realize but is really cool is the subtle way she reveals her name in various scenes. Something you only notice when watching Easter egg videos, but a real nice touch. Bill Williams, I could talk a bunch about his rocking chair scenes or the jump scares, but the real magic of him is when Janet is possessed and they're communicating with him. You can't see anything but dark shadows as he growls and rasps his demands. The only thing on focus is Ed Warren, but the out of focus outline of Janet morphs into Bill. I just want to give a shout out to James Wan. Something he's really brilliant at is restraint. So much of the entries he directs is where your imagination of what is to come, what's hiding in the shadows, what's lurking around the corner. He explores the house to its full potential, makes you watch every corner of the frame for what's coming. The final demon I will shout out is the Crooked Man. Fans are salivating for the idea of a Crooked Man sequel, and I can see why. He's pure nightmare fuel, and the reveal of the family dog into him is pure horror fun. I watched an interview the other day that said his movements were all from the actor and not stop motioned or CGI. I struggle to fully believe that, but taking it on face value for a second, it's very impressive. I really like the family in this entry. They feel like a real family unit who look out and care for each other. It's really grounded and makes you care so much about about the kids and what's happening to them. The Warrens also shine here, showing real care for the family themselves and using their own children and experience as motivation. You can feel the love for each other that's not super on display in the first film. I really like the scene where Lorraine's speaking to Janet about being an outcast in her meeting of Ed. It's a really sweet, tender touch that gives this film a lot of heart. Now, I've been really glowing about this film so far, but it's absolutely not without its flaws. First, most and foremost, it's the second longest film in the franchise at 2 hours and 14 minutes, and it shows. There is absolutely no need for this runtime. Why was he possessed by Elvis? There's a bunch of this film I would just completely take out. I love that there's a hoax storyline, but having the Warrens leave for a brief moment only to come back after barely being away is such a waste of screen time. Why was he possessed by Elvis? I also think the entire middle ended up dragging. I know I said it's a strength of the film how together the family is, and this may be a little bit contradicting as you need to focus on them and their backstory. However, a lot of their exposition and daily routines just didn't need to be there. Even the final climactic scene drags and takes away from the tension. As with the rest of the film, it just needed another go around in the edit room to take away the fluff. Why was he possessed by Elvis? That's the story of the film. All the elements are there, the acting's great, directing's great, iconic demons, the Warrens' arc is built further, impressive set pieces. There's a 90-minute version of this film that is the best in the franchise. Why was he possessed by Elvis? Number 3, Annabelle Creation. Now we're in the excellent film territory. All these films stand head and shoulders above the rest, and they're excellent with or without the franchise. What makes this film stand out is the atmosphere the director achieved. Director David F. Sandberg takes us to the old decaying orphanage where every hallway, every staircase, every shadow feels alive. You can almost feel a chill in the air. It's claustrophobic and dark, and when something moves in the shadows, it always catches your eye. I also love the way it builds on Annabelle's lore and tells you the story of how the doll came to be. It's really harrowing. The beginning scene where they lose their daughter to the accident in the most jump scare sudden way possible, it's so cruel, but it's built up so well. It makes the evil of the doll make sense. You can feel the family's grief and sadness. You can feel why they'd do anything to have her back. So many times when franchises build lore, it's unnecessary and feels like it doesn't add anything worthwhile. This is authentic to the series and doesn't bog down this film. It's not lore that just tries to connect and build the other films. Even with saying that, it still adds depth and makes the other films around it better. The heart of the story here is the children. Their interactions feel authentic as you can see them fight, make up, laugh together. They've really built this little family through tough times. The Conjuring franchise has really nailed their child actors and they deserve all the credit in the world for doing that. Now I'm starting to really regret the rant I had about hating child actors, but one day I'll make a film about the child actors I want to kick. But for now, back to The Conjuring. Now another thing I love about this film is how brutal it is. Something about this franchise kind of pisses me off as a whole because barely anyone dies in it. Think about all the other entries and how low the body count is. People get spooked, thrown around a bit, demon vanquished, and that's usually it. When Samuel Mullins dies, Jesus Christ, it's brutal. His fingers being broken around the cross as you can hear his bones popping as the demon fully takes over his body. His face is fully blue when he starts convulsing. It's probably the most horror scare in the whole franchise. Again, there's usually not consequences. Everyone comes out fine. But this is a real consequence as the demons attack in the film. Like, you can see why they're scary. It's not just the fact that he dies, it's a brutal death. The film's tension is always building, and as a viewer, you're always watching, waiting for something to happen. Every second spent in Annabelle's room, your heart is in your mouth, waiting for something to jump out. It takes a lot from James Wan's directing of the first two, focusing on atmosphere and building tension before the eventual jump scares. This one is really special to the series. It really stands on its own 2 feet and has its own aesthetic and vibe. You can take away the iconicness of Annabelle, take away the Conjuring name, it's still a very solid horror film. Number 2, The Conjuring Last Rites. And now it's time to get extra spicy. I fucking love this movie. First of all, this film looks like $1 million. It's the highest budget of all the entries, and I can see they used every dollar wisely. I honestly can't gush enough about how cinematic this film feels. It's up there with every new prestige horror film that's getting made. You can put this next to Weapons, any Jordan Peele film, and it stands on its own 2 feet in terms of cinematography. I also just want to mention how incredible the blacks and dark scenes look in this film. You can see every detail on a candlelit face and the outline of someone lurking in the shadows. It just looks so rich and detailed. I also really like the story element of this film, taking away all of the horror elements. It's a heartwarming story of a family going through their next stage of life, with parents getting older, health issues, weddings and big life events on the horizon. Maybe it's because I just got engaged, but it feels like this captured this era of life perfectly. The moment where you're enjoying everything that's to come, but you also have parents who are getting older and dealing with what that means with health and mortality. A family just wanting to enjoy this next stage of the life they built together and watch their kids thrive. I think this film is incredibly smart, only focusing on the Warrens, a family who are experiencing the haunting are really background players, and that's all they need to be. This is the end of Ed and Lorraine, who've been the glue to hold this franchise together, and they deserve every moment to be on them. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga play off each other so well, they feel like they've spent the last decade together. And when you look at all the different Conjuring projects, they really have. I love how they're aging together, and you can see how the cases have had an impact on the couple. One of the Conjuring's strengths is their ability to link all the films in the franchise. It does actually feel like one universe, and there's a cause and effect from the other films. I was also absolutely floored by Mia Tomlinson, who played Judy Warren. She fit absolutely seamlessly into the Warrens family and played this role perfectly. Looking at her Letterboxd account, I was amazed that this was only her second movie, but I mean, she's had a couple of TV appearances. I also want to say I actually liked her relationship with her husband, and you can feel the love and tenderness and care to each other, and I absolutely loved her relationship with Lorraine. This is best shown when Lorraine is teaching her how to block out the demons she's having vision of. She seems like she also has that torture quality of Lorraine had for most of the franchise. She feels really believable as her daughter, the push and pull of a relationship where they're both incredibly close but at odds due to their similarities. But family stuff aside, we know what we came here for, the spooks. And I want to say this one delivers. Firstly, the mirror wedding dress scene. I've already banged on about how much I love the cinematography, but this looks so good it made me fall in love with a puffy sleeve wedding dress. After the film, I went to my fiance and said, "You should consider this dress style that I saw in the Conjuring film." And then she pulled it up on her phone and I realized it's a wedding dress from, I don't know what it is, the 60s, with puffy sleeves. But yeah, the cinematography looks so good, I thought it was dope. Anyways, whatever. I love the way this scene has so many quiet moments, going from falling in love with the dress to slowly becoming more and more uneasy. When you start to realize something is in the dress, my screening hit fever pitch and couldn't contain themselves. The mirror looked incredibly cool and creepy, and the jump scare as she attacks herself is done so well. Finally, when the demon popped out of the dress, my screening lost it. I always speak about demon design, but I loved how human these looked, but just slightly off. It makes them so believable and scary. One thing that was a little bit stupid is how they justified them being there with that one convoluted line about it being a burial ground, but whatever. It's The Conjuring, I'm not here for logic. I also loved how they used Annabelle in this one. Even in her own franchise, she does so little, so actually using her and making her do more than just levitate and actually attack people was great fan service. My only gripe is how they updated her design, as she was so much creepier in the original. Here she was cleaner and less textured. I assume it was done for CGI purposes, but just a small nitpick. To sum it all up, this is the best part of the two films meshed together. Gives a perfect send-off. Has number two's tender moments, number one's tension, shared demons and characters, even following on from Annabelle Comes Home's development of Judy, all while looking $1 million and paying tribute to the franchise. This is better than I had any right to be, and I wish they left this franchise here. However, I highly doubt that's going to happen. And finally, number one, the OG, The Conjuring. What else could number one be? This is the film that started it all. I want to first start by explaining how I first watched this film. I watched this on a small TV with my brother and his girlfriend at the time. She was adamant she didn't like horror, but my brother promised it wasn't scary. And so for the next hour and 52 minutes, I watched a woman almost die in front of my eyes. I can't recommend watching a horror film more with a non-horror lover, because seeing their real visceral reaction is something so special. Sometimes as horror fans, we see so much different stuff that we just forget how actual scary things are. We're just comparing it to something else. So seeing this unadulterated reaction, can't recommend it more. And even as a horror watcher myself, I'll be dead honest with you, I was shitting bricks for most of this runtime. James Wan is a master of setting tension. I'm obsessed with the way we see nothing for the first half of the film. Every sound, every shadow, every camera movement is deliberate, making the audience anticipate his terror. It starts off slow and then just builds and builds and builds. We also see the demons at the start aren't here to play right from the start with the family dog, reacting violently to its unseen presence, barking, growling, and refusing to enter certain rooms. And having grown up with dogs and seeing how intelligent they are and how they can see the stuff we can't and feel the vibes of a place, so having him killed off so early means the demons meant business. I also love how James Wan sets up moments to be iconic later in the film, how we're introduced to the clap game and the kids in the wardrobe. I also want to take a moment to talk about how incredible the sound design of this film is. The floorboards creaking, the sound of footsteps, the house, the use of silence before scares. It's funny that I even decided to do all this because I am awful at jump scares. I jump so high every time they happen. But why it's so effective in this film is how restrained they are with using them. And that's hilarious to say for a Conjuring film, a franchise that's become so synonymous with the jump scare. James Wan relies so much more on tension and sound design before the scare, so when it finally happens, it's so much more effective, especially when you think about later in the franchise as they're used more and more cheaply. Another thing I love, and I've said it so many times now, but those goddamn demons. They're so much less iconic than number two, but I think that's what makes them even more effective. Number two's demons feel like they were designed to sell Halloween costumes and merch. These are so effective at how rooted in reality they are and how they have a reason for being here. Having both a woman with cut wrists and a boy who hung himself is so confronting. Making it human and something so rooted in sadness such as suicide makes them so much more scary, and making them cling to the house explains why it has such evil intentions. Bathsheba as well, being human and something not quite right, and the way she possesses people by vomiting in their mouths, it became commonplace, but when it first happens, it's on another level of gross and demonic. Also, the slow build up and the jump scare when she's revealed on the wardrobe. I genuinely thought this woman was going to die. I thought, we have to turn this film off, call an ambulance, she's done. And that's one of the reasons it's so good, is it balances those explicit demonic moments with the more subtle moments. My favorite scene in the whole franchise, and all of the 9, is the hands clapping in the basement. They set up this game and you know something's gonna happen. It builds and it builds. And as she finally enters and lights the match, you look at every corner of the screen waiting for something to jump out. And when you finally relax just a little bit, the hands finally clap. The jump scare hits and the camera goes straight outside the door as you hear the mum banging and banging to get out. It's shot right out of Alfred Hitchcock's Frenzy, leaving you to imagine what's happening. And that just sums up James Wan's direction. You just understand he knows how to set up a scare. Also, the reveal of the hung boy is just so effective, and it's very confronting and gives weight to these hauntings. The final boss showdown not being a physical entity but a possessed family member, love it. This is how possession should be. Violent, disgusting, and unsettling. Filled with blood, sweat, and vomit. James Wan throws everything at this scene after so much restraint for the rest of the film. Again, I've said it so many times, but with the whole franchise and how silly it got at some points, you forget how deeply unsettling this entry is. It really raised the bar for haunted house films, with no one actually having to die. A film experience I'll never forget, and up there with one of the scariest films I've seen. I mean, that's all I have to say. I've enjoyed doing this so much. It's no easy feat doing 9 films, and I think it'll be a while till I try such a massive project again. But spending this time with the Warrens and going through them all and living with those demons and jump scares, can recommend to a friend. So yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know what I should watch and review next, and yeah, bye.